boundary dispute has reached a whole new level. Check out this new fence. It splits a pool in two.
This right here is a situation that I've talked about on a lot of my videos, and I've actually encountered the situation about when you don't really know where the property line is. And it happens a lot in cash deals, and it happens to people that don't get surveys or know how to tell where a property line actually is. So this video, we're gonna talk about this mess that this community is in, trying to figure out about this piece of property. And it was kind of a snowball event. So let's get to it.
This fence has neighbors scratching their heads and wondering what will happen next here.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jack. I am a YouTuber, real estate agent here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And I just like talking about real estate and some of the things I encounter and my opinions on it. So maybe this will help you in one of your deals.
Yeah, if you walk down this street here in Wadeview Park, it looks normal, right? There's a house on this lot. There's no house on this lot. But if you look behind the bushes here, you can see the guy without a house has put a fence on the guy with a house, making it clear where the property lines stand. Now everybody is asking, what's this guy do now? Splitting the garage and that pool in half. That's all because of a boundary dispute.
There's a lot of stuff out there, and this is the reason why you get professional advice if you don't know what you're doing. So let's check this out. I got my computer right here so we can look at this video.
The MLS listing says, quote, the pool and the garage are partially on the adjacent parcel and not included in this sale.
Usually in these situations, you had one big piece of property and somebody decided to build something, and then they decided to sell the other property, and they either sold it, and the way the county cut up the property line description, they just didn't check to see if the other lot was buildable. I mean, like sometimes people will not permit some addition, and they'll spill over on what they thought was the property line, and then they sell off the other lot, and then you got this problem. Like in the deal I saw recently, somebody had not permitted a screen room kicked over the property line just a little bit. She owned both portions, and then what she decided to sell, she wasn't very forthcoming with it, and the title company actually caught the encroachment over the property and was like, look, we're not going to let this go forward in our office, under our watch, unless you're able to deed her the square off that covers the screen room. And then what that wound up happening was it made the next piece of property really not buildable, because the amount of property that was left was not within the parameters of what the county or city would allow them to put another dwelling on. So you really gotta, look at these. I encountered one in one of my deals where we sold the house in 10 acres and the other 10 acres was not buildable because the way they had transferred the property previously. I think I talked about that in my vacant land video, where there are situations with county easements and right-of-ways and touching those right-of-ways where the county sometimes they have rules that they just won't give you a permit because they're afraid the next owner will not have access to the property, et cetera, et cetera. And the idea of some of these rules is to kind of streamline from this happening to where the county can say, you know what, we're not going to let you do that because it's going to cause problems within the community and with other neighbors on how properties should be divided. So this house sat vacant for many, many years, and nobody could really figure out what was going on because, one, you go to put it on the MLS, nobody wants to buy it because nobody knows where the boundaries are. I would think they would have just bought a survey and had it put on the MLS and just said, hey, forthcoming, this is what's going on. Maybe some investor would buy it, fill in the pool, and knock down the carport. But it seemed like it was just kind of held in limbo. Sometimes you get agents that don't really know what's going on and how to accomplish this mission. It sounded like the neighbor next door just didn't want to play games, was just mad. Probably what happened is an investor picked up the lot and was like, you know what, if I put a fence right through the middle of this property, they're going to just sell me this for pennies on the dollar and I'll have a buildable lot. Because it sounded like what he had was a non-buildable lot and he was just trying to force the hand, and we have this problem. This is one of those reasons why they force you to get permits for things. I don't like permits for most things, but sometimes when it comes to setbacks, property lines, and building things that could encroach, well, This is why they make you get permits. You go down there, you show them your survey, you show them what you want to build, and they say, okay, will this work? Will this affect anybody else as far as water runoff or drainage, or being able to get some access in and out with whatever? And the county has its ways, the city has its ways, and that's one reason why we do these permitting processes. It's just one more thing that just is a headache, and I get it. You see that little concrete wall going down through the middle right there where the fence was, where there's a little step up? A lot of times when people see things like that, they think that's where the property line is too, and you have this like uneven lot, and it seemed like that's an issue too. Like, I don't know who would want one of those walls right directly where it's at when you're trying to have a buildable lot. And it just seemed like this is a very odd situation. Totally can tell what's going on. I could see this happening where some wholesaler and some flipper gets a hold of this thing. This thing's, going to be auctioned off. Probably they were both sitting at the same auction. New guy buys the house. I'm guessing he bought it cash because the bank there's no way they would let this property probably go through closing, being that there is a giant encroachment on it, and they would have had to have a survey, and usually title insurance and stuff like that doesn't want to touch things like this. So I'm guessing it was two cash buyers. The other cash buyer was like, hey, bro, like, I got this thing pennies on the dollar because it's not buildable. Now I'm going to force you with this fence to give me that extra land, and now I have a buildable lot and it's worth something. And then they got in a spat, and then the real estate agent that lives across the street.
We stand now. We have a brand new owner of this house, and this is how they choose to make their statement to the new owner.
Lisa Sconyers is a realtor and has lived across from the two properties for years. The history is long and sordid, but the easiest way to explain it is that both lots were owned by the same person, a house on each. He then sold them to the new owner, who then cleared the lots to build one big house. But that owner went into foreclosure and the lots were sold to two different people. So now this house is over the property line of the other lot.
It's trying to make it sound like they're not ethical. But I can see there's a land dispute going on with this, and the investor in me is seeing how they're doing this. So technically it's not a MLS worthy property, but you really got this mess, and I feel like this is when the county needs to step in and fix some things. I really don't know how they fix it unless they force them to combine the two lots, to separate them into two buildable spaces. If not, you're just going to have this void there. Maybe the other neighbor on the other side winds up accumulating it and putting it into his property. But this is what's going on. I know that's what they're doing.
So the house was just sold at an auction, and now what was a dispute has been taken one step further. The owner of this lot seemed to have put up a fence right through the pool of the other guy's lot.
One part of being a real estate agent is telling people when not to buy something. I mean, never hire a broke real estate agent that needs the paycheck. You need one that can say, you know what, you don't need this deal, walk away. Don't do this. And a lot of times it's not the real estate agent just being lazy. It's, hey, this is a bad idea. And I've said that many a times on my deals. And as me personally as a real estate investor, I'm like, no, this is a bad idea. And I encounter them and I say, don't do it. Like the other day, it was $1 million piece of sand on the beach, and they didn't want to use the real estate agent. And I told them it's a bad idea. The seller's agent wasn't very forthcoming with them on what was allowed on the property as far as building a driveway, etc. And they wound up purchasing the piece of property and had $1 million lump of sand they couldn't put a driveway on or really do much anything with, and not really be able to build much on, because they didn't want to use a real estate agent that actually sells and buys stuff on the beach all the time, knows the beach in and out, knows exactly where to get all these restrictions, and knows exactly who to talk to. They just wanted to do it themselves, and they got hooked once the money was wired. Don't be that person. If you know what you're doing, cool. If you don't do it by yourself. Hire somebody that does it, and ask them before you hire them as an agent, have you done this before on the beach or wherever we're doing this at? especially on large pieces of property. 10 acres, 15 acres, 20 acres, 100 acres. It can be very complex because you don't know what was there before. You don't know if there's anything hidden underneath the ground. You don't know about the mineral rights. You don't know about the timber rights. There's a lot of things. Same way with single family houses. Sometimes you don't know what the HOAs are. You don't know what the documents are. You don't know what the deed restrictions are, etc. It can get complex fast. So that's my opinion on this. And the way you avoid this is that, one, if you're a novice at real estate, never buy a property without a survey. A lot of times when you buy a property with a bank, like you're using a loan, the bank will go through this process with you and for you and make sure you're really not making too much of a mistake between the appraiser, the survey, title insurance, the underwriter. They're going to make sure you don't encounter this most of the time unless it's a complete error and somebody lied or forged something. But if you're in the cash purchase business, there's nobody there to stop you from doing stupid stuff, except for your real estate agent, okay? And a lot of people don't like to talk good about real estate agents. I'm a real estate agent. I've seen great real estate agents have stopped these type of situations. And you need to have buyer side representation if you're purchasing a property, because odds are that agent is going to spot this if they're worth their salt. Not all of them are worth their salt, but the good ones would spot this and be like, hey, there's an issue and we need to figure it out before we do any wiring. Hopefully the title company would flag this, but you get what you pay for in all these situations. If you're not going through multiple lien searches, if you're not really talking to the title company to make sure that legal description looks right, and you don't go out there with your due diligence and kind of walk it off, like odds are you could find the property line by finding the metal stakes. The whole video on that, but the right answer is to get a survey. And I hope this kind of helps you with an idea of how to get around this and that this can happen. So just know you gotta protect yourself in these deals, especially on foreclosures, especially on cash-only deals, especially if a wholesaler's involved, especially if this is the dark side of real estate. A lot of real estate agents aren't gonna wanna put something like this on the MLS. Especially like I had one not too long ago with a shed that was split in half. Sometimes the best answer, if it's just a shed, this is just my opinion, is just knock the shed down, start anew, fix the property line, because the amount of time on market you'll spend is going to be a lot trying to explain this stupid shed that's an encroachment. In this situation, it was a pool, and it doesn't look like you can get equipment in there and fill the pool in, which is probably going to wind up having to be done. And then that giant shed is probably going to, or carport is probably going to have to be either knocked down or made smaller inside the property line. And I'm sure they're going to make them fix the setback, and that's going to be an issue. A lot of problems, but sometimes investors will try to grab this stuff and fix it, and they can get it for a song. Wind up getting a really nice 3,000 square foot house for cheap. All you got to do is knock down the carport. And, that's how sometimes these things are remedied. That's really the best shot I got at this. I wanted to bring this to your attention because I've talked a lot about some of the horrors of real estate, and this is definitely one of them. Also, I'm going to add, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a real estate attorney. I'm just a real estate agent out there just giving my opinions after looking at this mess. So go find your own real estate attorney. It's going to be different in every state. The rules, the regulations, the HOAs, the setbacks, it's going to be different all across the board by county, by state. So just keep that in mind. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know if you've had any horror stories like this. If you've seen any, put them in the comment description box, and everybody can learn from it. See you guys on the next one.